You should have recorded that.
I want to welcome you to another installment to the Invest Podcast. I'm your host, John Ross. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. Also, follow me on Instagram, All Things Invest with 3 T's. All Things Invest with 3 T's. With the Invest Podcast, I've had the pleasure of talking to many different guests, many different personal investors from different walks of life. This time, I have the privilege of speaking to a businesswoman, speaking to a entrepreneur. She's actually in the business of packaging seamoss. Seamoss is a form of seaweed that I know it grows along the rocky parts of the Atlantic, the European, and the North American coast. Has an array of benefits. I know it's high in iodine. It's good for people with thyroid issues. I even heard it can help reduce certain markers for cancer. Energy. Actually got me a bottle myself, the apple cider. Shout out my girl, was really, really good. So I want to welcome Natures Club Premium Sea-moss. I want to welcome Asa Washington to the Invest Podcast, a personal investor. Asha, my girl, how are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
I'm good. So it's dope to get you on here. I know we kind of tried it before, but it didn't work out. I'm just definitely glad it worked out today. I see you out there in the car. You doing some deliveries, pickups today. You been busy today? You been busy?
I'm always busy. I'm always if I'm not at work or doing my side job other than seamoss, then I'm doing seamoss. I just had an order right before this. She came and picked up. So I'm appreciative of the community coming through, because supporting me at the same time they're supporting themselves. So
definitely. We'll touch on that. Cool. So Asha, when we start the show, girl, where you from, right, and where'd you grow up? We kind of grew up together a little bit. I know I was really good friends and still with your brother Marcellus in high school. That's my dude, man. Holla at him, boy. We got to get together soon. Where'd you grow up, girl?
Yeah. I actually grew up here in Sacramento. Earlier years, probably to like 3rd grade, I grew up in South Sacramento. So I went to like C.P. Huntington and Joseph Bonheim, the elementaries. And then we moved out here to the north where my grandparents are at. And we moved around quite a bit. But for the most part, grew up in the north, graduated Highlands High School.
High school,
played for Sean Chambers.
Yeah, Sean Chambers. Yeah. Definitely.
And yeah, so I'm from Sacramento, but I actually just came back here right before COVID hit. So like October-ish, 2019.
Okay.
So I've been in Southern California for a while, but I came back home and got it popping.
Yeah, for some reason, I felt like sometime all roads sometime end up back home. There's no place like home, no, huh?
Right.
No.
And it's like, when you're younger and stuff, you're like, oh, I want to get out in the world and all that. And I don't know. I could have went back to San Diego. That's where I was at for the most part, and I do miss it. But a lot of blessings have came since I came back home. I was able to manifest a cool job, which I hope to be leaving at the end of the year, so I can put more energy into my business and stuff.
Nice.
But I've had so many blessings just coming back here, so I'm enjoying it so far.
Definitely, boss lady. So I want to ask you, so Asha, I know you've been doing seamoss for a little bit, but what first got you interested in doing seamoss? Because there's like a million different businesses that you could be doing, but what made you pick this one?
So I'm going to say this, for most people that are selling health products that I know of, start because of personal issues.
Okay.
Me, I've always been heavier my whole life. So, but I used to play sports and through my first year of college, and then I fell off from sports, so I wasn't working out as much. And so one of the main things was just trying to lose weight. But at some point I realized, you can't just do a diet. Like, you have to make it part of your lifestyle. So about 2015, 2016, I was in school at Grossmont College in San Diego. I was actually in school for audio production and communication. So I wasn't doing anything with health, but I started experiencing anxiety,
Mm.
and I probably have experienced it before, but I never really knew what that was.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I was in school, I was working a few jobs, and I was going to school, and then trying to do music, and then started experiencing that, and that tripped me out because I was eating healthier and working out at the time, and I was like, man, I don't know what this is. So I went to the doctor for that, and then I actually took a nutrition course, and during
Okay.
that course, I started researching what different fruits and vegetables do for you and how you can combine them. Or because, if your body is lacking something, it's going to tell you you're going to start, you might crave something.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you crave bananas, you might need some potassium or something like that. So I was researching that, and in my research, I actually came across Dr. Sebi, who's
Yeah, I've heard
actually
him. What
he's the one that
my wife was actually the first one to actually tell me about him. Yep.
yeah. So and he wasn't quite as popular at that time as far as what I knew. But I would watch a lot of his videos where he talk about an alkaline diet,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically keeping our bodies electric, eating electric foods, which are foods that are alive, like raw fruits and vegetables, certain grains that are healthy for us. And then he mentioned seamoss, and I was like, okay, what's seamoss? So I started researching that, and I actually hadn't tried it for a couple years after that because I really couldn't get a hold of it at that time. But that's pretty much what kind of caught my eye was just researching uh, on my own for my own health.
Okay.
And then him mentioning sea moss and other herbs and stuff that are beneficial to you. So then eventually I ended up trying sea moss, and I was like, okay, there's something here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because when you put good into the body in the physique, you're going to get a lot of good out. And when you put bad into the body lets you know. Like you said, when you are missing something, when you're lacking something, the body, it definitely lets you know. It tells you. So you started from personal experience. And sometimes with people, when they go into business or they start doing something, a lot of it, the roots, there's a story. And a lot of times it comes to something they went through, a personal experience, like, hey, I want to do this. So when you got involved and did CMOS and were taking it yourself, when did you decide that, you know what, I want to package this and I actually want to have this as a business so people can actually experience this? I want to do this. So it's personal, and then you went to the business side of it. How do we get to that point?
Yeah, so around 2018 was when I first ordered some sea moss from Jamaica, and
Okay.
there's there's different strands of it, just like the easiest thing to compare it to is marijuana. Like there's
Okay.
different
Yeah.
strands
Okay.
out there. There's some that are more potent than others, and
Okay.
I got the purple sea moss, which was
Purple.
the gracilaria. Yeah, I got that purple. Purple. um, so that strand was actually from the Genius grass. It was called gracilaria.
Okay.
So I blended that up and I made a gel, and I started taking it immediately. The first thing I noticed was I've experienced depression and obviously anxiety, and then moodiness as well, which you can kind of connect that to your diet also.
Right. For sure.
And I noticed that I had tons of energy. I noticed that my mood was not shifting throughout the day. Sometimes it could have been like, okay, this week I'm cool, that week, like, it's up and down. And it could have just shifted throughout one day, like where it was up and down. And that was not happening. I wasn't experiencing anxiety when I was taking it. And I also noticed that it was detoxing my body. So I was using the restroom more. It definitely makes you urinate a lot more because it's cleaning out the toxins in your body. But also it does make your bowels work as well too. It doesn't give you the bubble guts or
Right.
anything.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it just comes out real quick the way it's supposed to. So I just felt that energy burst. So it wasn't until we moved back here, my family and I, that I started taking it again. But it was taking me like sometimes 3 to 6 months for it to come, just get through customs.
Yeah, it's a
Um,
long time.
yeah. So I was like, okay, well, let me buy in bulk because it'll be cheaper and it'll last me longer and won't take me so long to get. Well, I had so much that I was like, okay, let me share with some of my friends. So
Oh,
I'd
you had an
make some of my
oversupply of
friends
it.
a jar.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'd make them a jar and they're like, okay, well, how much are you charging? And I was like, well,
Okay, you was okay. You was let me think about it real quick.
right. So initially, I hadn't even thought about starting a bit. I was still thinking
Okay.
like, okay, maybe I'm still gonna do something with music. I wanted to do audio production and produce, and but I hadn't really put a lot of energy into that. It was just up and down with that. So I was like, okay, let me get in the groove of this. And once I started sharing with different people, like everybody was just saying, "Oh my gosh, I feel like myself again. I haven't felt
Mhm.
like this in a long time." And I felt really good about it. And so I was like, okay. So I actually during that time I started going plant based for about 8 months, and I
Okay.
had a health coach. Shout out to Monique from Earth's Root Medicine. She also sells seamoss. She does the
Okay. Good
Condress
stuff.
crispus. But so just connecting with different health coaches, business coaches, I was like, okay, I could really do this. I could do
Mhm.
something with this. And then I didn't even really notice that there's a lot of entrepreneurs that started popping up, especially during COVID. And it was
Mhm.
just like the perfect time. It kind of just fell into my lap. I wasn't really thinking about it at first. And I was just like, you know what? Like it makes me feel good personally, but it also makes me feel good that it's I could sell something that people can actually use because I always had a mouthpiece, but I never wanted to be like a salesperson that's just
Right.
pushy, like a car salesperson, or,
Pushing.
like
There's bullshit.
yeah,
There's
like
bullshit
forcing you
that
into
gets
something.
sold. I used to be
Yeah,
I had a job years back, and I used to try to get people into doing timeshares and all that type of
yeah,
stuff. You know what I mean? That's back in the day. You know, I did that. But yeah, you're selling something that actually is changing lives. I know I got some off you the other day, and I can tell you when I drank it. And that morning, I usually feel good most mornings, but that I tell you, that morning, girl, I was at work. I was like, what the fuck is going on? I felt like super popping. Like I felt really
right,
great, like just high on life. And people was like, are you on something? I'm on seamoss. I'm good. So yeah, so what I'm
right.
gonna definitely be doing is get some of your cards. I'm gonna try to push some more of your stuff at my jobs. I definitely believe more people can definitely benefit off it. How'd you come up with the name?
So, and before I say that, I meant to get you a jar before we did the interview, but
All
I'm
good.
gonna hook you up.
For sure.
So that way I wanted because I know like you could feel the effects from the juice, but with you being already fit, some people that are already super healthy may not feel the same like pow, but
Mhm.
obviously you did.
I
So
did. Okay, good.
I wanted to get you a jar so you could see over at least over a course of a week like what that would do for you.
So
But
the gel's a
um
little bit more concentrated.
yeah, so it's pure seamoss.
Okay.
It's uh people make it different ways. Mine is raw, but I can also make it where I use the heat method where we actually boil the water. So it's really just water and sea moss.
Okay.
So it's all natural. There's nothing in it unless you get the fruit ones um, and stuff. So it's just sea moss, straight up out the ocean, high mineral content, just like seaweed. So it's amazing. But so last year when I actually started contemplating on um, doing a business, I connected with a health coach, Anjanaya Canton, who
Okay.
is amazing businesswoman who has her own skincare line that's been in Targets and Walmart,
Oh wow.
and she actually has a business called Glow Girl Wellness as well. She helps other women and young women entrepreneurs start their business.
Okay.
And I met her through my cousin Shannon, Washington, or Shannon C out of Vallejo. Shout out, cousin.
Got the fam.
She linked me up with her, and she has like a eight-week business plan where she helps you get started, getting your EIN numbers, your registering your name and all that. And she's like, okay, the first step is to come up with your name and do this, that. And so I had a name, which was Wild 92. And that's just to say that it's wild harvested and has 92 out of 102 minerals.
Yo.
But the more I kept thinking about it, I was like, well, I personally can't really tell you for a fact that it has the 92 out of 100 because I don't have the capacity to have it tested for each mineral.
Right,
That's
each one, yeah, every single,
yeah.
everyone. Yeah, okay, I see you.
So, and to give a visual for that is like if you go to the hospital and you get a blood test, they're only going to test you for certain things. And if you ask for something else, they're only going to do that if you're showing some symptoms or something that, okay, I may be anemic or this or that. They're not going to just go ahead and test because the insurance companies won't pay for all of those tests.
Right.
So, and that's just because it's so costly. So that's kind of similar to getting other things tested, such as seamoss. So I was like, all right, I don't want to be locked down to that.
Yeah.
And not to say that I don't believe it doesn't have that many. I do believe it has about 90% of the mineral content, just being that it's from the ocean.
You'd have to get every single batch in tested just to make sure. Yeah. You might get a bad faulty batch. You don't know, and then you might be, oh, this one has 91. This has 89. Right.
Yeah, and because there's so many different strands of seamoss, it may differ. So, and the seamoss that I have is from the Caribbean, which is different from actual Irish moss, which we can go into that in a minute. Irish moss comes from the colder climates called Chondrus crispus, which you were talking about, like the Atlantic and Ireland and stuff like that. But so I didn't want to get stuck with that name. And I was really excited about that name because me being in music, I was thinking like, okay, that's a cool name. I could have these cool letterings and like have music artists advertise it and this and that. And I'm thinking hip hop and all this stuff. I was like, nah, you grown, you gotta have some maturity, like stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely more sophisticated.
Yeah. So honestly, like I kept thinking of names and nothing stuck for a whole year. And this past year, I was sitting in my car. My 9-year-old niece comes up to me and she's starting to talk to me about her friends at school. She's like, yeah, I have a group. We have a club. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's cool. You and your friends? She said, yeah. And we have a name. And I was like, what? I was like, what's your name? She said, Natures Club. And the lights just went off in my head.
It popped up
like, what?
That's the one, huh?
Simple.
Okay.
I was like, it's so simple. And it's like, and this is why I love the youth, because they have the energy and the creativity when they're young. And there's nothing in their brain that's telling them this won't work.
They don't have the fear mechanism built into them yet. It's not there. My daughter's the same way. She's 9. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same
so
thing.
I was like, okay. I was like, wow. I was like, that's a great name. I was like, can Auntie use that name and for the seamoss? And she's like, yes. And so, and I don't think she knows, but I told her, I was like, one day you're gonna get a check from me.
Yeah. Let's say
so I'm gonna put it in a bank account. Like definitely. I'm gonna put it in the bank account, and she's gonna get something out of it and stuff. And because I want her to know, we want to create that generational wealth where in the average community, not everyone aims for that, because we don't see that for ourselves. We just like survival mode.
Right.
So I want to be able to offer them something and show them like, this is how we build and pass it on. And so, yeah, that's how I came up with the name. It's pretty much my niece. So everybody, Melania Washington, that's Marcella's daughter, oldest,
Uh,
and stuff. So yeah, she hooked it up.
yeah, definitely. I love that. It's good you're thinking about that, like generational wealth. Again, that's something that we're not really taught. And again, it's really hard to build generational wealth. Not saying that like a regular job, like jobs are good. Like jobs provide security to some extent. Regular jobs provide good benefits to some extent. They do. But for the
Right.
average person, just doing your average job, you're not most likely going to be able to build any type of generational wealth for your family. Most likely to get to the generational wealth type of spot, you have to do a little bit of outside the box thinking. And for many people, that's just the scary part because they don't want to think outside the box. So me, one thing I do, and I try to push on this podcast, it's okay to think a little bit outside the box and not do necessarily the norm. Do the norm, maybe until you don't have to anymore. It's okay with being normal, but always try to think a little bit
Yeah.
outside the box.
Yeah. And if you don't have anybody around you that are doing the things that you're interested in, get with people that are doing that, or at least on the business side of things,
So yeah.
because you want to create that energy to manifest your tribe. Like
Mhm.
your tribe may not be your immediate
Love
family,
it.
may not be the friends that you've had since
Yep.
you were a kid. They're going to be other people that's
Right.
in alignment with what you're doing. So I experienced that in so many different ways, and more so doing the seamoss, just connecting with different people, doing vendorship, and just talking with people. Even my customers come and they're plugged for other. I'm the seamoss plug, and they're plugging me with um, doing vendorships. They're plugging me with other customers and other
Reciprocal,
professionals.
that
Yeah.
reciprocal type of agreement. Yeah, I talked about it on a previous podcast. Is like a lot of times to get to a certain point, to get to a certain level in your life, as far as you're trying to go here, you definitely have to surround yourself with people that are like-minded, that are definitely trying to go to the same level or even more. And again, it might not be your immediate family, it might not be your friends. So yeah, let's touch on that really quickly. I did see you last weekend at a vendor event. I've known you've done definitely a couple. So being out there and meeting a lot of different people has really helped your business to just kind of put yourself out there. Do you have any fear at first of like doing your first event, about how it would go, or you just kind of do it? Or what was your thoughts on like your first event that you did?
Um, kind of like
Yeah, for
um
sure.
yeah, because my mentors and stuff were telling me to do them last year, and I was like, well, I don't have labels, I don't have this, I don't have that. I just keep thinking of everything I don't have,
Yeah, that's
and
that's
one of
a
them was
fear.
telling. One of them was telling me it doesn't matter, just go to one and then you'll learn from there. And also they were saying your product is what is going
That's
to sell itself,
right.
because people want this, and not there's a few other people in Sacramento that do sell CMOS, but even in the United States, even though there's a lot of people selling it right now, there's not really a lot of people selling it. It's a lot more than what it used to be, but so there's basically